Hey everybody, today we have Monopoly, America Monopoly on this Monopoly Monday. Monopoly Monday. It's a Monopoly Monday. And today we have America Monopoly Special Edition. Celebrating the people, places, and greatness of America because America rules. No matter how much CRT and critical race theory and anti-American liberalism tries to claim otherwise. No, America still is blessed and one of the greatest nations in the world. No matter what the crazy liberals want you to believe. That America was founded upon racism. That's a bunch of bull crap. First slave owner in America that bought a slave was a black man. Most black men were freed during the Revolutionary War. The South, when they tried to get people to fight for the Southern cause, they freed black people before the North did. Read some history, folks. America was not founded on slavery. Matter of fact, little side note, if you read the Confederate Constitution, which has everything that the American Constitution has, but more, it was going to abolish any more slavery buying for the South if the South ever became a freaking nation. Look it up. America is not founded on no damn slavery. If anything, you know why we had slaves? Y'all really want to know why we had slaves? Alright. I'm gonna throw some truth bombs on y'all why America had slaves. England decided they weren't going to have slaves anymore. So that's a good thing, right? England, they used to have slaves and indentured servants in England. Matter of fact, a lot of the settlers of early colonial America were indentured servants too. That's a little side note. You know what an indentured servant is? For all intents and purposes, an indentured servant is a slave. Alright? An indentured servant is a slave. Until they pay off their slavery fee. They are a slave. So we have all this different money in this game. Now, you want to know why we have or had slavery in America? Well, it's England's fault. See, because England had slavery first, right? And then when they created the colonies, they didn't tell the colonies, hey, oh, by the way, y'all can't have slaves. They said, oh, sure, the colonies aren't part of England. We just want you for tax purposes. Which is why America eventually, rose up and said, look at you, England. We ain't paying no dang taxes. Which is why America should rise up again now because the current American government wants us to pay too much damn taxes. Anyway, that's a little side note. Side notes. Side notes. Anyway, that's not the main thing that I was trying to get at, but right, so England decided they didn't want to have no more slaves, right? Alright. But it only applied to England, the nation of England. Alright, so Here's the different tokens you're supposed to have, like the space shuttle, the film reel, Uncle Sam's hat, apple pie, Liberty Bell, and taxi cab. Because nothing's more American than apple pie.
Somebody done got all them tokens, I think.
Yeah, tokens usually aren't in here. But what do you expect? I bought it at the thrift store. Anyway, here's the rules. Now back to why America has slaves. Alright. There was these English, traders. They traded with people. They traded with people from Africa, right? Now, they used to be able to trade African slaves in England, but when England decided to pass a law where the English people couldn't have slaves anymore. Yeah, baseball, basketball, movies, television, rock and roll, science discoveries, farming inventions, industrial revolution, phonograph, telephone, telegraph. It's all things that are American. Yorktown, Louisiana Purchase, Gold Rush, Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Gettysburg Address. Why are those yellow and not like green and blue? Glacier Bay and the Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, Washington Monument, and the Lincoln Memorial are blue and gray. Okay, so those are the properties. Now back to why America. This game has like a bonus game in it with these American Challenge trivia cards. So that's kind of cool. America has slaves because English slave traders, they traded guns. Again, I've told people this before, but they basically traded guns. They traded guns to African tribal warlords in exchange for prisoners of war. Alright. Now they could have sold the prisoners of war, slaves, to England. But they couldn't sell them to England anymore because England said, no more slaves. Alright. So where do they have to sell them? It's also missing the houses. But, so they had to go to the colonies to sell them. The colonies. It also has the special edition Go marker for the American expansion, the American legal system.
I know it's Dad. He's wanting me to come on over.
So, what happened was, they couldn't sell them to England, so they had to go to the colonies to sell them. Now these were people that were just trying to make money, right? So they didn't care who bought these prisoners of the war from African tribal warlords who were having wars with each other. Which, by the way, this might be a racist thing to say, but it's the truth. African tribal warlords still exist today. They're called gangs. They fight each other. It's black on black crime, etc., etc. It happened in Africa. It happened and it's still happening in America. So, yeah. Looks like I got all the property deeds. That's good. So anyway, basically, America was not built on slavery. And it's not America, the colony's fault. It's a combination of England passing the anti-slavery laws fault and English traders, slave traders, and amongst other things, fault. And actually Africans themselves for fighting each other and creating a slave trade to get in the first place. If the African tribal warlords weren't fighting each other and wanting better weapons, guns, and ammunition, gunpowder, to do more war conquesting, there would have been. They took the POWs, sold them, and these tribal wars were happening all over Africa, and honestly, these slave traders did not care who they traded with, as long as they could make some money. So they took old, beat up, used guns, sold them. They were early arms dealers and slave traders. Sold them in exchange for POWs, then took the POWs across the pond, across the sea, across to the ocean to America, and then sold them on the auction block. They weren't going to take them back. They had to sell them. It's the only way they could make money. They couldn't sell guns in America because America already had guns. America's always had guns. The Second Amendment was a big part of early America before even America became a country. America's always had guns. They knew how to make their own guns. So there was no way these traders could sell guns to America. So what they did was they sold guns to African tribal warlords in exchange for POWs. And then they sold the POWs, which became slaves. Most slaves ended up getting freed as soon as their slave owner died in early revolutionary times. The only people who actually kept their slaves were rich capitalists who said, "Hey man, this is some cheap free labor we can get here, or cheap labor here." But still, a lot of slaves earned their freedom. They earned their freedom. They earned their freedom in all kinds of different ways. They earned their freedoms. It wasn't until like Western expansionism where they needed labor, but even in the South, a lot of slaves earned their freedom or were freed as soon as the slave masters died or slave owners died. So you can't blame the original first buyers. You have to blame their like children and grandkids or whatever, because those are the ones that decided, hey, wait a minute, we don't have to free them. We don't have to do what our grandparents did. We don't have to do what our great-grandparents did. We don't have to. They should have, but they didn't have to. Because there was no law saying you had to free them. Now, there would have been laws against slavery in early American if one of our founding fathers, who also owned slaves, matter of fact, all of them owned slaves. All our founding fathers owned slaves. But the writer of the Constitution wanted to put in the Constitution a thing that made black man and white man equal. Matter of fact, that's really what all men created equal was supposed to mean. But the rich plantation type owners who were using slaves didn't want the slaves to go away being free so soon. So, yeah. But because if a few of our founding fathers had it their way, slavery would have been abolished when the Constitution was created. But again, the rich Southerners were the ones who kept it in play. And back then, the Southerners were Democrats, not Republicans. Now the Southerners seem to have swapped to Republicans over years and years of time, and the Northerners have seemed to become the Democrats. It's crazy, no, right? Anyway, have a great day. Now remember that it was the Democrats who have been keeping the black man down with these slaveries and stuff. Always has been, always will be. They're still trying to keep you black men down with socialism and communism and free money from the government, so that you'll trust the Big Daddy government. While on the other side, flip side, you have to obey Big Daddy government, and they keep locking y'all up for crimes. They keep you in poverty, make you in a system where you stay in poverty, you stay uneducated, you stay that way, you stay fighting yourselves, and then you lose your rights to vote by going to jail. You lose all your rights, your civil liberties and stuff by going to jail. The system is set up to make you not have any power, black man. Think about it. The system has been set up to make you not have power. They don't want you to get in power unless you're part of their system and are just as corrupt as they are. Politicians are to blame. Mostly Democrats. Anyway, because the abolitionists were early Republicans. The Republican Party used to be propaganda against the Republican Party on purpose that particularly just said stuff like Democrat Party, party of the white man. Republican Party, party of the black man. And like the first 20 plus black congressmen and senators and whatnot that were elected in the United States, when they finally got the right to vote and the right to run for office, guess what party the first black congressmen and the first black senators that were elected into office were? Republican. Y'all need to look up some history. See, America's great. Always has been great. Always will be great, unless we let the liberals control the narrative, and we let the liberals control the communism, socialism agenda that they got going on. If we don't stop the liberals, America will not be great. They have always had this plan. They've been the racists all along. They've been the sexists all along. They've been the divisionist type people all along. And they've been secretly trying to control and take over because they don't like what America was founded on. Freedom, independence, liberty, Christian moral values. They don't like any of that, and they've never have, and they've been trying to tear it down. So it's time to wake up, America, and stop believing the media lies and the education system that they dumbed down so much and changed and flipped to something totally different, because they keep wanting to change history because they don't like they don't like true history. They don't even like history as being his story, the story of God and Jesus and all that. Anyway, remember, God's good all the time. All the time, God's good. Keep on gaming. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Jesus loves you. Jesus God. Jesus Lord. Jesus King. Jesus ruler of everything. Hope you enjoyed this America Monopoly Special Edition. Celebrating America. 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 God shed his grace on thee and crown the good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Anyway, have a great day. Hope you like the truth bombs I dropped on you too. America's always been founded upon liberty, freedoms. Less law, less control over our lives, more control over our lives for our individual, personal responsibility, personal freedom, personal liberty. America's been found on personal stuff. Also on biblical doctrine, biblical values, morality. That's what America needs now, more morality. America needs to go back. We need to go back to the past and get some of these things that we used to have back. Back to the foundations. Back to the constitutions. Back to the charters. Y'all look at some of the old school charters. Like Magna Carta and all that stuff. Before America was even America. That kind of stuff. Do some real history, independent research. Don't believe the lies they teach in school and the lies that they have on the media. Don't believe the lies. Believe the truth, not the lies. I dare you to research what I just said. You'll find out that I gave you basically a Cliff Notes version of it, but it's true. Don't research it with modern day stuff. Go back, far back. Like, don't even go 1800s back. That's not far enough. 1700s back. I know America's founded in 1776, but that's not far enough to go back, dude. You gotta go back to 1600s. You gotta go back. Gotta go far back. And then you have to go forward. You have to go back. Then you have to read it from... And you have to keep it into context. When you read history, you have to read history in the context that you are living in that time period. You cannot take today's values and standards and apply them to yesterday's world. It doesn't work that way. You have to set yourself as if you existed in that time period to understand history correctly. You cannot be like preconceived notions of today and go, well, that was wrong because it's wrong today. No, it wasn't wrong back then because it was their culture. And there's still cultures today in the world that have the same culture as some of our past histories have. And they have that culture right now. To say it was wrong back then because of our culture now would be to say that this culture over here in another country that lives the same way they lived thousands, hundreds, or even thousands of years ago over here is wrong, would be saying that this current culture is wrong, which would be culture, a type of racism, anyway, that's just... I'm going on and ranting now, and I got 2 more Monopoly games, so I need to do them. So, later.